Vice President Biden, final question for you. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm while the vote is counted, and will you pledge not to declare victory until the election is independently certified?
Yes, and here's the deal. We count the ballots, as you pointed out. Some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until Election Day. And if there's thousands of ballots, it's going to take time to do it.
What do Republicans think about this on the Intel Committee? What do Republicans across Capitol Hill think about this? What do House Republicans think about this? What do Senate Republicans think about this? They're sitting there and they're putting our president-elect and they're putting these conversations in jeopardy, all because they know that the person sitting inside the White House is being reckless and irresponsible. And so they're not allowing the United States of America to have a smooth transition so Joe Biden, the next commander-in-chief, can be prepared when he goes in to actually protect not just Democrats, but Democrats, Republicans, independents, Marxists, anarchists, you name it. 330 million Americans, their safety depends on Joe Biden being able to prepare to be commander-in-chief. And Republicans on Capitol Hill know he's going to be commander-in-chief. And yet Mitch McConnell will not step forward and pressure Donald Trump to do the patriotic thing.
Welcome. We heard Joe Biden, the feckless Joe Biden, the old man who's wandering around in the car park in Delaware, talking to the newest line of Toyotas, Land Cruisers, and what they call them, Crusaders and Gladiators. The new line of 2021 Toyotas. If you think you've won it, Joe, why don't you just claim it, grab it, man up. You're going to protect us. Joe Scarborough said he's going to protect us. Look, the military, you get the whole thing, nothing changes. It's still going, right? And he's so feckless. He's so weak. It's very sad. If you want to unite people, if you want to take, you think you won, if you want to claim that, it's very simple. Do what you promised on stage. What did he say? We're going to wait to a certified vote, right? Was there, Jack Max, anything unclear about that?
Nothing unclear, Steve.
That was a direct question by Chris Wallace in debate number 1, and that was a direct answer. That's probably the most direct answer of any question that Biden answered. That was the most direct answer, right?
That was.
For me to say that Joe Biden is the son of a used car salesman or a car salesman?
Either that or a coal miner, depending which personality he's working his way through that day, Steve.
We want to introduce our co-host Jack Posobiec, who just got you can go ahead and take that call, Jack. Anything if it's a hot news tip, anything in the war room. No, by the way, he dropped out of his first presidential race because he ripped off the. It was Arthur. It was the
Neil Kinnock. The life story of Neil Kinnock.
Neil Kinnock, the tough coal miners. Son from the coal mine family led the Labor Party.
A Welsh coal miner became
right.
Joe Biden's narrative, and then he had to drop out, and he blamed himself for having just letting it get away from him.
There was another thing too, that he was something about some plagiarism in college. There was a bunch of stuff that kind of came up.
He claimed he was topping his class in law school, that he graduated with 3 degrees in his undergraduate, that he was this, that, and the other thing. And in fact, Joe Biden is exactly what he was at 25 years old today. A cheater, a liar, someone who is not to be trusted.
By the way, we're going to start over the weekend. We're going to start the new segment, multi-segment on War Room Pandemic. It's going to be We Have the Receipts, and it's going to be Jack Maxey weaponizing Hunter's hard drive. Since Jack Dorsey, I saw Jack Dorsey walking around with Sean Penn. Some bizarre photo of him, out having a meaningful conversation with Sean Penn, another intellectual. Where Jack Maxey's got the receipts. We're going to go back and do weaponization of Hunter's hard drive part 2. Since now, Lynn Wood is down. We got tons of breaking news. Got breaking news. We're going to report some all over. We're going to try to contextualize this. The Daily Mail has a story right today that says the president's strategy, his legal strategy, is to fight on all these things and force the states to actually certify this vote. right? Which they should. And Joe Biden says that's when Joe Biden agrees. He's on stage. Everybody's got to certify the vote. So we understand certify the vote. And they can't. It ends up back in Washington in the House. So the president of Daily Mail's got a big story by Jeff Earl, their senior political editor in the United States, that lays all that out. And we have tons of breaking news, whether it's from Pennsylvania with the Assembly and legal, whether Michigan's stepping up now, the state Senate stepping up and getting involved. All throughout the nation, people are getting engaged. Republicans are saying, hey, we're going to fight for this. They're going to have to prove they didn't steal this, because it looks like right now they're trying to steal it. They're trying to steal Trump's victory. We got Jack Posobiec, One American News. We've got Greg Mance, two Pennsylvanians. I want to understand what's going on in Pennsylvania today. We've had a massive court ruling. We've got the state assembly engaged. They're trying to find out. There's a FOIA request. Where are my naked? Where's my naked ballots? Right? Where are those naked ballots? So I'm gonna start with Greg Mans. You can tell us what's going on, and then Jack Posobiec of One America. Also, Lynn Wood is tweeting out in the Hoft brothers out in St. Louis, a Gateway pundit, are tying this back to Jack Maxey and I are kind of floating around here because they're tying it back to the CCP. Can't get better than that. That's home cooking. Okay, that's home cooking, and it didn't even come out of the war room. Just got served up to us. All you got to do, Lynn, is keep tweeting Chinese Communist Party. The brothers in the war room are going to be on that. Okay, just keep doing it. It's Chinese. I tell you, Russia's a sideshow to a sideshow. CCP is the font of all evil. And here's the great thing about Posobiec. He's both a Pennsylvania guy. He's one of these crazy guys running around in Instagram and all these parks, daring owning the libs, right? Owning Antifa. Plus, he's a naval intelligence officer, speaks perfect Mandarin. All the Chinese guys at GTV said they could listen to Posobiec all day long. Pottinger and Posobiec are the two guys they can listen to. They love their Mandarin. What's happening in Pennsylvania?
So the Pennsylvania Commonwealth Court gave us a big ruling today, and not so much for the amount of ballots that this impacts, but the fact that it sets precedent that the Pennsylvania Secretary of State, the guidance that she issued, does not have legal standing and authority. So going forward, as this moves up to the Supreme Court for other cases that aren't defined in scope the way this is, a couple thousand ballots, it can be expanded out to hundreds of thousands of ballots.
She's around. Correct me if I'm wrong, but she's been frozen in place now twice. Last Friday night, Alito froze her in place with the whole thing to keep the separation, and she had been misleading people. And then this right here, that she's overstepped her bounds.
Yeah, this was prior to the election once again.
Contextualize this. Where does this put us, and where does it put us particularly with her as a player?
So what it does is this Secretary of State in Greg and I's wonderful home Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Kathy Bookvar, who we've seen from her own Twitter account, has said in the past that you shouldn't refer to Donald Trump as the president because it demeans the office.
Awful. She's awful.
So we can see her motive. We can see her bias. She was making up the rules as she went along. And the Commonwealth Court slapped her down pretty much as hard as you could slap down somebody. It was saying you have no statutory authority, period. And this is an originalist argument. The fact that it's an originalist argument from the Commonwealth Court going all the way back to the statute in terms of her overriding, her unilateral override of election law from the legislature, Pennsylvania state legislature, is going to absolutely carry water with who we've been talking about originally, and already this year, talking about originalism, right? These ideas. This is Alito. This is Gorsuch. This is Kavanaugh. We were sold on all of them, but they were originalists. Now, Amy Coney Barrett, she is going to be in the mix on this because Pennsylvania State Supreme Court gets to rule next. That's a Democrat bastion. That's 5-2 supermajority of Democrats. They're going when they talk about being, Donald Trump is 0 for 7 in Pennsylvania State Supreme Court. Yeah, that's because there's a Democrat supermajority on the court up there, right? They're always going to rule against him. It's not about the Pennsylvania State Supreme Court. It's about the U.S. Supreme Court, where you've got those serious originalists up there, where I know for a fact that, of course, they're going to be a little concerned, right, about potentially looking like they're overturning the results of an election, right? That's something that we've heard from the media. But if you walk in there and you say, look, here's what the Constitution says, here's what the law says, and here's what they did. They're not going to rule in terms of Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. They're going to rule on the merits of the law. And this is exactly the same type of thing that we saw happen in Bush v. Gore in Florida.
You're seeing the heat's getting turned up because Maricopa County, the GOP, I think elections head just got either forced out or resigned because of the machines. You've got the Michigan State Senate is stepping up and saying we want an audit of the system. They're dovetailing what Dave Kallman, David versus Goliath at the Great Lakes Research Center is saying. He's got a great lawsuit. In fact, here's how great it is. Yahoo's got like the New York Times summary of ones that the New York Times are coming after, and they get Kallman now in their gun sites. They're going through every they're going through every affidavit and trying to find a comma that's not in place. He's worrying them, right? Because he's got the receipts also. He has eyewitnesses.
Have you ever seen a period of time in history where the media begins to operate as the backstop for the defense attorneys in any legal conflict on planet Earth?
I'd just like them to have their investigative apparatus look at what's going on here, and at least try to. If the country's going to be unified, we got to get to the bottom of this.
Well, we saw it with the hard drive. Now, lots of people in the media have seen raw documents from that hard drive, and we've heard nothing. So the idea that these guys are out basically trying to vet the affidavits of witnesses is beyond belief when they have physical documents in front of them with the signatures of Hunter Biden and various contacts in the CCP and the apparatus selling out America, selling out the West, and you guys are silent. This is a crucible moment for the media generally, globally. You have Fauci on today talking about mistrust of science. There's a mistrust of many of the informational apparatuses in our society today. Why? Because it's clear to even the most benign observer that they've become politicized.
Whether it's in Maricopa County where they're arguing 5,000 ballots, they're in court. Boris Epshteyn is going to give us an update on that because all 5,000 of those, I understand, could go to Trump. But give us a ground report. Pennsylvania is still the key that picks the lock here. You've got Michigan. Wisconsin's been kind of quiet. There's a lot going on in Wisconsin. We'll start reporting on that tomorrow. Georgia, tons of stuff going on in Georgia. Arizona hangs in the balance. Nevada, criminal stuff in Nevada. But Pennsylvania, you just got back from there. First off, where's the naked ballot?
I want to answer your question on that, the naked ballot. So what we're seeing now happened in Pennsylvania, and this is coming up of all places in a not from the Trump campaign, but actually from a Republican candidate, Kathy Barnett, who was running in the Pennsylvania 6. She put forward the fact that basically worked like this. Some counties allowed for the curing of naked ballots, and some counties did not because there was conflicting guidance, once again, given from our good friend Kathy Bookvar, right? So our good friend Kathy up there in Harrisburg, who's making it up as she goes along, she gave conflicting guidance. What did that mean? That means that it was unequal, that there was unequal treatment of these ballots across the state. And this was a key issue in 2000, Bush v. Gore. The Supreme Court ruled 7-2 on this. Yep. Equal protection. Unequal protection was given, that if some counties did it one way and some counties did it another way, that is not a fair election.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. Jack Posobiec is our co-host for the first hour. We're going to have Jim Hoft on talking about China. Joe Hoft talking about China next, and how China's involvement, the CCP's involvement. Remember, Joe Hoft has spent many, many years in Hong Kong. He's a China expert. We got Jack Posobiec, who speaks Mandarin, naval intelligence. We're going to go around the country. It's happening, folks. You can tell. They're getting nervous, right? They're starting to throw the toys out of the pram. Okay. Back with the Hoft brothers from St. Louis next.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, Posobiec, I got the great Lynn Wood and on his Twitter feed. He's tweeting today, fundamental rule of war is to identify enemy. Our country is at war with communist China. A war of good versus evil. China attacked us with COVID, a biological weapon. COVID was excuse to control our lifestyles. Dominion was a communist voting system used to control our elections. That is the lead lawyer of the Trump campaign who's fighting down in Georgia right now, Lin Wood, a highly respected guy, kind of preaching the gospel of the war room, right? CCP, at war with the Chinese people, at war with Lao Beijing, at war with the all the decent, hardworking people on Earth. The virus is the CCP virus. I'm still of the thing that it was a biological weapons program of a enhancement exercise, right? Gone awry. There are others who think it's actually a weapon that was let loose, but it definitely did not come from the wet market, right? It was a gain of function experiment. Financed by Tony Fauci. Don't quite know that, but I think we get within hollering distance of that. So Posobiec, before we get Joe Hoft on here, what do you think of Lin Wood's? I mean, you got to back it up, but where's Lin Wood going on this?
Well, I've got to see his way of being able to link this with CCP. If there was potentially he's talking about some kind of investment, maybe that was done, maybe some research. I don't have the data, but I do know that in terms of Dominion, I got a report right here from Texas, 2019. They recommended to deny certification to Dominion based on numerous vulnerabilities and issues in the software and hardware, such as convoluted setup.
In every vertical. Read it, every vertical.
Yeah, convoluted setup, lost adjudication results, incorrect prompts, and power failures. And again, this isn't One American News, this isn't War Room. This is Secretary of State of the state of Texas. They denied certification to Dominion Systems, and it's a year ago.
And they went through, and this is what I understand how, Maricopa County, she's gone today. I think the GOP head of it. I think for the Dominion system and not doing checks. And they're saying, how did you do this? One of the questions I'm hearing from out there, how did you do this when Texas gave you a full report? Did you do any due diligence? Did you make any calls to maybe a state that's won over that is pretty big and is also run by Republicans that you could check it out?
Yeah, and we spoke about this yesterday, and we posted it on to Twitter, or at least I did on my feed, and people can read this. What to me is so frightening is that this is one state's analysis, and they failed in every single key area, and yet somehow they passed in every other state. Either this implies total incompetence on the part of the other states who chose this, or there's something nefarious going on in Texas, and I doubt it's the former.
We've got a lot of people looking at Dominion. We're going to have a much more thorough kind of walkthrough in the next couple of days. Dominion's got to be deconstructed. Okay, I want to go to Joe Hoft now of Gateway Pundit. Joe, walk us through this. You were on the other day, and then afterwards you posted a story up on the lead that everybody's found quite intriguing. And I don't know if it's what now linked to in her tweet that the president then tweeted out, and now the world's in meltdown. But walk us through what the Gateway Pundit story was and how you guys came to this conclusion to take this various pieces of information and put them together in one story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks, Steve. And great to be back. This all really started after our last discussion, which was Tuesday morning, where we brought up that we'd identified numerous, maybe 6 or 7 instances where there was data that was being flipped within the data set. Apparently, it's showing up on just CNN and some other sites where they would see an equivalent reduction from the Trump numbers and an equal amount being increased in Biden's numbers at the same time. And so we had a number of those. So we thought there's something going on here. There's certainly a pattern. The one pattern is that they're always against Trump. And so it seemed to be more than a glitch, which is what they were being called at that time. So somebody actually sent me a link to a site, and it's apparently it's the Donald site that used to be formerly on one of the, I think it was either 4chan or Reddit. And they got shut down because they didn't want any Donald stuff up there. And so they went and created their own website, and I've got a link to it in my post from Tuesday night. But in it, they had done this analysis that I was looking for. I was looking for the data, and I was looking for, to try to figure out how could we go through this data and determine if there's more of a pattern that's going on rather than just these 6 or 7 anomalies that we identified. And sure enough, these guys had done it, and there's a link to it out on our post from Tuesday. And it shows that there's literally in the Dominion realm, they came up with around 434,000 votes that got switched from Trump to Biden, and a total of 2.7 million votes that just were erased. And so we had noticed these anomalies. Now we've got an overall picture. These guys got a hold of the New York Times data feed, and then they used that to run their analysis.
Leave it to
And
the
they felt like it was pretty,
leave it to the guys at the Donald just to go ahead and crack into a
Isn't that great?
Yeah, you gotta love it. The New York Times is melting down.
Yeah.
They love anything about the Donald anyway. Just
Yeah.
the site, just the even mention of it, they vapor lock over there. It's so great when they crack into the data feed. So explain what
Yeah.
they did and explain to the audience why this is so important and what the math tells you here.
Yeah. So they got a hold of this data set. They've got a bunch of IT guys there. I talked to one guy. He said, well, there's maybe around 200 or so IT guys that are working on this. There's other groups that we're aware of that are IT that are working on other things. It's really exciting. There's a lot of people jumping in. I've had a number of people volunteer to me to say, how can I help? And I'm forwarding them to these groups. But what they did then is they took that data set and looked for these periods where data was being shifted. They actually found some instances where it happened with Biden, but predominantly it was Trump, and the Biden numbers are netted out of these totals. So, yeah, what we're seeing, like in their end result, which is unaudited, and we've got somebody that reached out to us and said he would be willing to audit this for us, and he's looking into that. So these are unaudited, but they showed, like in Pennsylvania alone, 220,000 votes that were switched from Trump to Biden. Now, I think the lead there is 50,000 now. So, boom, that's Pennsylvania. In Michigan, they came up with 20,000 votes. The biggest one was overall was Pennsylvania. A lot of monkey business in Virginia, where they mentioned 790,000 votes were dropped and lost. So we don't really know what happened there. Are they losing them and then backfilling them with all Biden votes over a period of time? We don't know. But there's more research to be done here. But it's now we've got a complete set and a complete analysis of what was going on election night.
So we're going to help enroll it and present this. Here's the question I've got. You've got, because the Trump movement, and you can see from the different sites, we have some tremendous people in technology and tremendous people on analytics. You got Shiva, the guy that ran for the Senate. He's doing like expanded TED Talks on certain analytics coming out of Michigan and other places. You've got so many other people doing it, crowdsourcing, the Donald, etc. So you got the pirate ship is now in full mode of really smart people and doing all this. So we have that, and then we've got Gateway Pundit and other great sources of guys like yourself pulling together. Here's where I don't see the connect right now. There is an official apparatus, right, called the Republican Party apparatus and the campaign apparatus that have extensive data sets, voter files, all of that, and can get down to the precinct to precinct data. Are you now trying to merge that together or reach out to people either at the RNC or at the campaign so that you can really get a much more, kind of boom, fused in and connected and expedite this, because we're burning daylight, right? This is all, remember, everything here, we're on the shot clock. And so where do you think the people you're talking to, because I know we're talking to them all day long, there's numbers of really smart people on the analytics side doing this, crowdsourcing it, but how does that get linked into some official apparatus?
Well, you're right. And one of the groups is spending their own money to buy some of these data sets so they can do this analysis. So the Republican Party would be a huge help if they have this data to reach out to us and to provide it so we can provide it to these guys, especially the Donald's group and another group that I know of. They're doing a lot of great work voluntarily, and I'm sure they could use help with more data sets. That's the challenge. Once they get it, they can do their work, but getting it has been a problem.
Okay, we got about
we
got about a minute left. Where are you guys on Gateway Pundit? Where are the Hoft brothers going with this story?
Yeah, so we posted it Tuesday night. It's been retweeted. It was a big story, a lot of volume. Again, Steve, we mentioned the other day, we're getting more than 5 million hits a day now. People want the truth. They're searching for it. Today, President Trump retweeted basically these numbers in all caps, stating that He says Dominion deleted 2.7 million Trump votes nationwide. The analysis finds 221,000 Pennsylvania votes switched from Trump to Biden.
This is the point. This is why we want to have you on, Joe, because we love you guys. It's good news and bad news. The good news is he retweeted you, so you're going to get like 9 zillion hits on the thing. The bad news is that the world is now focused on Donald Trump's tweets, and they go to Chanel, and they see that Chanel basically links back to your story. Your story links back to these crowdsourcing times. It's kind of like it's stand and deliver time, right? Because the world's sitting there. The president's retweeted. He's saying, "Hey, I bought in. I like it. I'm good. Where's my?" He's going to start working on his inaugural address right now, right? Because if that's true, then it flips. We're good to go. So we got to bounce.
Yeah.
We're going to come. We're following you guys. We want to come back. We want to get engaged in making sure that all this kind of works through and it ties into some official apparatus at some time. You guys are doing great work. The 5 million hits a day is fantastic. Joe Hoft, Gateway Pundit. We're going to have links to the Gateway Pundit to the story. Joe, thank you very much for joining us today. Joe Hoft. Okay, Posobiec, all of us back in a moment.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
I think I kind of stand with Joe Biden. I'll trust the intel community. He's not president right now. Don't know if he'll be president January 20th, but whoever is, will get the information.
Obviously, the idea that Joe Biden isn't going to be president on January 20th is nuts.
That would be incorrect, Jake Tapper. It's not nuts. He did not win on the 3rd of November. Donald J. Trump did. And we are not prepared to allow guys like Jeff Zucker, the corporate media of, AT&T, Time Warner, to steal this from the American people. Not going to happen, okay? And to be honest, your feckless guy is kind of up there. Hey, I want an intel brief. How about this? No. So what do you say? Somebody else I think he really deserves an intel brief. We thought about it. How about this? No. We want to take phone calls from. We want you to make phone calls and set up all the phone calls with foreign leaders. How about this? No. He just sits there. It's just no, 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 and nothing happens. Right? He's feckless. Just a feckless old man wandering around up in the car park in Delaware, and that's the way it's going to be because he told us right back there. In fact, the next thing we got to play is that. In fact, just tell me when you're ready. I want to hear his voice answering a direct question asked to him in the first debate of when it was going to be time, right? He said when it's certified. Hey, when it gets certified, if it gets certified, and my money is it can't get certified, and that's why you're having state Senate in Michigan say they want a full audit. That's why he's had people in the Pennsylvania House saying we want a full audit. We got it. Let's play that again. I want you hearing Joe Biden's own voice.
Question for you. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm while the vote is counted, and will you pledge not to declare victory until the election is independently certified?
Yes, and here's the deal. We count the ballots, as you pointed out. Some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until Election Day. And if there's thousands of ballots, it's going to take time to do it.
Count the legal ballots, right? Did he get the certified part, or did you cut it off too early? Was that certified? Okay. Count the legal ballots. I was so focused on the ballots. Count the legal ballots. Got to be certified. The president's starting to run. Now we're hearing it.
And certified is a legal terminology.
Okay.
This is not just something that Joe Biden came up with. This is the states actually legally certifying the vote. So this is what Joe Biden is talking about. He's not talking about something that Jake Tapper comes up with in the middle of the night. He's talking about the legal process.
Daily Mail lays it out. It's the president's legal strategy right now. Force them to come forward and try to certify, right? And you can only certify legal ballots, legal votes.
And a little breaking news right now. Matt Flynn, who's a national reporter, Finn for Fox News, just came out. There's a whole nother dump of affidavits coming out of Detroit. One now from a woman named Melissa Caron, and she worked for Dominion. She said that she witnessed people counting ballots, stacks of ballots, mail-in ballots, 4 and 5 times, so that 100 ballots would be counted as if they were 500 ballots. over and over again. She complained. People who were part of this process, I really think it's time for other people to start coming forward. Don't take the fall for some machine, because Melissa is going to testify against you.
Where's the mainstream media on this? Now they're going after Coleman and his. I told him today they're going to go after. Was it Jesse, the brave little patriot that's sitting there that came forward? They're going to try to destroy them all. The president. One thing I want to get to. I got Posobiec. Anything else on Pennsylvania? Because you and Mann.
The other piece that I've heard about Pennsylvania is that they're digging into whether or not, and this goes on in other states too, but specifically Pennsylvania, where I've heard, is they're digging into whether or not illegal ballot harvesting took place. Ballot harvesting is legal in certain states. In Wisconsin, well, there's no law against it in Wisconsin. In California, they've specifically allowed it. But ballot harvesting, and for people who don't understand it, because it is, a phrase that you have to mention, is because people don't realize this could be illegal, right? It's basically being paid to bring someone else's ballots to the drop-off point, whether that be a drop box, whether it be a county board of elections, whatever it is. If you are paid to do that, it is illegal.
It's like all these Soros groups, like the Acorn type groups. They got all these.
It's Acorn style.
It's Acorn style. They got all these Acorn groups funded by Soros, right? That go around and just
the canvassers
ballots.
may not even know.
No,
right? I would be. They're getting paid $150, $200 a day. They most likely don't even know that what they're doing is actually in contrivance of Pennsylvania law, if that is the case. And so this is something that's being looked into. There are reports now coming in to the Trump Legal Center talking about, people showing up with these drop boxes, because in Philadelphia and some of the other counties there in Pennsylvania, these drop boxes were set up for mail-in ballots. Well, they say they've got people on video coming in with handfuls or armloads, a tray full of ballots. What is that? Who are those people?
One thing also that's interesting about Pennsylvania, I'm looking at the state site right now, and we've been talking for several days, I think actually since the day after the election, about these provisional ballots. Now, going through the state, it looks like less than half of the counties have reported provisional ballots, but what is particularly striking to me is Philadelphia has had no provisional ballots, Montgomery County has had no provisional ballots, Bucks County has had no provisional ballots. So these are big voting blocks, and we've seen nothing. So you reporters out there, please ask Pennsylvania what has happened to these provisional ballots. We've never gotten a clear answer.
Now the thought is that those provisional ballots are going to break for Trump because they tend towards in-person voting on Election Day. And because that turnout on Election Day was generally for Trump, there's the idea that these provisional ballots are going to break for Trump, or at least they should. As we've seen already in this election, the expected outcome in a lot of these turnout models isn't always what shows up.
Before I turn to, we're going to talk about Intel, about Trump's starting his second term and taking action. Since we started the show, and we started in Pennsylvania with Manns and Posobiec, what the Secretary of State came after us, right? Dropped 10,000 votes for Biden.
Since
they said, "Hey, War Room, you're a lot of nice. Hey, big talk.
So
here's
from
action.
45 to 55.
We drop another 10,000. That's okay. We got the game. We know the game. They're all not going to count anyway. So you drop all you want. They're all illegal. So you drop all you want.
Yeah, and then Steve, with the naked ballots and what you're talking about, and rumors and intel on the ground of those ballots being thrown out or destroyed. There's been right to know requests being filed with, which is the state version of Freedom of Information Act.
Called Right to Know?
Yeah.
And who filed those?
Lawyers on the ground there.
You're supposed to wait. You're supposed to weigh the envelope to see if the security ballot's in there, because it's going to weigh more if it has that security envelope on the inside.
We said this for weeks.
Well,
ever since that ruling, this is going to be the big one.
They still haven't even revealed how they made these determinations in some places. Like, for example, in Georgia, in Fulton County, where they did the same thing. Nobody even, they haven't said, oh, we weighed everything yet. No one's defined how they knew that they didn't have the entire.
No, the rejection rate is way down from where it usually is. Way down.
I want to go to the intel part of it, about the mass dump of intel, but particularly President Trump. Wall Street Journal is reporting today a slew of executive orders. They've already cracked down on investment companies making investments in any company that could possibly be used by the Chinese military. PLA. But there's also this controversy. Brennan's saying that basically the president ought to be rounded up right now because he's a danger. And there's discussion, and we've said, why are there not a bottom blow? And you're the best guy who would know this. Why is there not a bottom blow and just declassify so much of this intelligence right now?
He's fighting to do that right now.
Is he fighting? Don't tell me. You hate when you say
Gina Haspel.
Why is he fighting?
Gina Haspel.
He's the last time I checked, he's the
and
commander-in-chief. She's a Grundoon.
AG Barr is against it.
Last time I looked, the president is chief magistrate. The attorney general is attorney general.
I'm telling you what's going on, Steve. I'm not telling you how the Constitution works. I'm not trying to tell you that, but I'm telling you that Haspel is against it and Barr is. He wants to declassify the original Russia investigation documents.
Are we breaking some news here? You're saying AG Barr has told him you can't do that?
And AG Barr has said don't do it because of sources and methods. Gina is saying don't do it because it would cause damage to our foreign allies. Gina, we know where you were in 2016. You were the station chief of London, right?
Where it all
you were right there while Crossfire was going on. Any human operation
weekends in Cambridge
that is going on,
Stephen Halpern
has to be signed off. It has to be signed off by station chief. And if the FBI is running something, if anyone's running something on the ground, let me tell you something. Either station chief is signed off about it, or if they're doing something and station chief doesn't know about it, that's probably even a bigger problem.
So do you see a problem in sources and methods for releasing all the background that Nunez and everybody else has said should be released?
Don't we already know all the sources and methods? The operation talk about OPSEC. This is an operation that's been blown more than any operation that's ever been done before, right? Maybe other than Desert One. We know so many. We know about Halper. We know about Cambridge. We know about Steele. We know about who Steele's primary subsource. We know about many of his subsources. I think it's time to simply let the cat out of the bag.
When Devin Nunes over at House Intel sent the 40 subpoenas to, who's the deputy, Rosenstein?
Yeah.
Sent to the deputy attorney general saying 40 subpoenas were never answered. This could have broken the whole thing open at the time. And the president kept telling me, you got to do this. You got to do. I was on TV all the time in early 18 saying he ought to be fired, not for what he's doing on this, but he ought to be fired if he doesn't do this. That's what we're here now in 2020, and we still haven't had any release of it.
My guess is that if Barr is in the middle of this, he's getting pressure from CIA, he's getting pressure from the FBI. President Trump, do not listen to your attorney general because he's being fed bad information. He's been being fed bad information his entire time in office by these agencies. You need to follow your instincts. You need to pull the trigger on this one, and you need to open the books for the American people to see the fraud that has been put upon them for all these years, because we want to defend you, and it's easier to defend you when we have the facts in the light of day, Mr. President.
And we know why Gina went to see Mitch McConnell and made sure everybody saw that she went over there, right? Gang of 8. That's the Gang of 8. That's why she went to see Mitch, to make sure that everybody saw that meeting. She was only there for 20 minutes, but it didn't matter. She knows exactly what she's...
The Five Eyes program, where we have this this working relationship with the other,
right,
Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the United Kingdom, and ourselves.
The Anglosphere.
The Anglosphere. We have that, and it works. But that's one of the things they're trying to protect here, of how they, and this is the danger, and this is MI5 and MI6 has got a problem too. Both operations got involved in domestic politics, because this is a scab. You peel this scab back, and a lot of pus comes out.
Look,
okay?
the most likely, and I don't know this for certain, but the most likely scenario here is probably that MI6 signed off on the dossier.
There's absolutely no doubt. I don't think.
I mean, it's path of least resistance. They're trying to protect the fact that MI6 probably signed off on the dossier, and that's why when Brennan was bringing it all around, his buddy Richard Armitage over there, Dearlove, Richard Dearlove over there, that when they brought it around, he said, "Hey, MI6 is on our side." MI6, I'm telling you, that's exactly what happened.
I think the bigger scandal is that they were using British HQ to surveil Americans outside of the Fourth Amendment requirement for a warrant. And we do this all the time with our Five Eyes allies. We've been doing it for decades. It is a scam and an abuse of our constitutional rights. But right now, I think this lays it open for everyone to see. I think they were asking for favors, and they were getting favors long before.
If they were doing that to Page and Papadopoulos, and that's clearly and the CIA signed off on it, that's clearly a violation of the rights.
They've been doing it to American citizens for decades. It's a little favor. Hey, can you check this guy out? And then they have the chain of evidence.
Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break, but you should say your vote is dump it all, dump it now.
get it all out.
You're dump it all, dump it
Yeah,
out.
dump
Sunlight.
it all.
Man's 100% in the war room. Got to dump it. Let
Open the
Amer-
Kennedy documents again, too, Mr. President.
That's a
Epshteyn.
whole
I wanna
different.
see Epshteyn.
That's a whole different thing. I want to get on the ground. Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break. Boris Epshteyn's going to join us from Arizona. It's a court case going on right now, about 5,000 ballots, all pro-Trump. Be back in a moment.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
In the next couple of days, we've got to keep you close because there's a lot going on in Pennsylvania. Stuff's breaking out there all the time. I just got a report about Montgomery County. They're fighting down about 6,000 ballots down there. They think these may actually be pro-Trump ballots. There's a fight all over Pennsylvania. Like, these ballots are, the legal, illegal ones are being counted. The legal ones that are pro-Trump are not. So people are in fights all over Pennsylvania. Got to keep you close. I know you've got an observation about the First Lady.
Yeah, there's some info that I've got from inside really the other war room, right? That war room is that there was this thread out there in the CNNs of the world and the Peter Alexanders of the world saying that the First Lady was ready to leave, that she was packing her bags, she was headed back up to New York. Not even close to the truth. She is down for the fight, probably even more than anybody else in there right now. She's been telling everybody that we need to kick this thing into high gear, that if we're going to go to court, we need to go to now. We need to bring everything we have to bear against this, that it's either, and by the way, and if we're not, then you might as well just concede right away. Then you might as well just walk away. If it's one or the other. She doesn't like the indecision.
Look,
she wants to go in there.
Her parents are the first. She talks all the time about and Eric and Don Jr. talk all the time about going over seeing their grandfather, and then Melania's parents talk about living under communism, living in Eastern Europe. With your Polish background, those people know what freedom is, and they're not prepared to give it up. She's a fighter. I want to turn now to Boris Epshteyn out in Arizona. Boris, I think you would agree with us. The First Lady is a fighter, and she's not going to back off 1 inch from this thing. She knows that Donald J. Trump won on the 3rd, and so don't expect all these leaks you see coming out of the White House is all fake news. That is psychological warfare to try to get particularly the Trump supporters depressed. It's not happening. All that stuff is coming out of their lies. People are down for this fight, okay, and they're working 20 hours a day, 7 days a week for the fight. Boris, you guys are out in court right now. In two things I want to do. What's happening in court about these ballots in Maricopa County? Did the election official resign or get fired? The GOP. So take the ballots first. What's going on?
Well, the ballots first. So the hearing is going on right now, and I'm not in the courthouse because I'm not as a lawyer on the specific case. So without being a representative on the case, no reason for me to be in the court in the courtroom. I'm getting some conflicting reports as to what's going on. What I do know is this: is that we need to get to the bottom of this green button issue that I talked to you about a couple hours ago, about day of ballots that were damaged being forced through the machine in Maricopa County. We need to get to the bottom of that. And I just now recently heard potentially, again, and I don't have any additional info on this, potentially some issue of duplicate ballots, which means ballots that are being corrected, not being counted if they're Trump ballots. I'm not saying that there's a validity to it. I'm not saying it's factual, but I just heard, and the number of ballots was huge in the tens of thousands. So I'm going to be running that down, figuring out what's going on. But yeah, it's
hang on a second. What do you mean tens of thousands of ballots? What is this now?
Apparently, and I'm not, again, I don't have any additional backup on this. I was just told, and it could be rumor, and that could be all it is, that apparently there's an issue with the counting of what's called duplicate ballots, which are ballots that were fixed. Now, could be absolutely nothing, could be something, but something worth at least taking a look at. On the numbers, we have not gotten any major drops today. We've gained 100 votes out of 127 that were dropped about, and so we're still at 11.5 with about 40,000 left to count. And then as far as this official resigning, this is a Republican official who failed to show up at the day where they were testing these new machines. She failed to show. And was not there for that. Thus, Republicans actually never signed an affidavit agreeing that the machines work.
You can't make this stuff up. I mean, how does that happen? And now,
It's crazy.
How do we find out about it 8 days after, 8 days after the voting took place and the machines were used. I mean, this is why I think people in the Trump movement, you got those hardworking people are out there in front of Maricopa County, and they're sitting there going, "Why? You know, what? How could she possibly not be there for the systems check, Boris?"
And guess which system it is? This is the Dominion system used in Maricopa, so she didn't show up for the system check. Again, don't know this person directly. From what I'm told, may not be the biggest fan of the president. Maybe a little bit of a establishment of a Trumper. But so somebody who decided that it was not her time, it was not worth her time, worth the drive or whatever it may be at the systems check for a machine that had never been used before. This is the first time, and she didn't even show up.
Boris, we got about a minute left. Arizona is obviously very important, even to close the gap. What the audience and keeps blowing us up, we've been at about 35 to 60,000 votes for going on 3 or 4 days here. What is stopping the officials in Arizona from finishing this, at least in this round? So we either do a hand recount, an audit, or get on to the next phase of it. So to see if this thing can be certified or not. Why are they holding back? Is it because it's good news for Trump? Are they just incompetent? Or is there some national security issue we're missing?
I'm not necessarily sure, to be honest. And yesterday and the day before, I said to you, well, this is the way it is here in Arizona. It just takes time. But now I'm frankly getting very concerned about how long it's taking, and we need to see the numbers. And it's what we've been saying from the very beginning. President Trump, the American people deserve for every legal vote to be counted and to be disclosed. And it shouldn't be taking this long. So let's hope that there are more numbers that have come out today. I am expecting that. And we'll see where we are in the morning, because the numbers that are left are, again, expected to be overwhelmingly pro-Donald Trump numbers.
Okay, Boris Epshteyn, thank you. We'll put all your Twitter handles up and Parler handles and all that. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Steve. Good to be with you.
Didn't check the machine. Next time you hit him with a $10 bill for a donation, just remember that. It boggles the mind. In Texas, you read this Texas report. Jack had it up the other day. The guys the people in Texas went through this thing in detail, and I mean, they blow up that system.
And 3 times over the years, they've gone up to Texas, and Texas said no, absolutely not.
Okay, we got to bounce. We got Steve Gruber. We're going to Michigan next. Steve Gruber, an expert on Michigan, is going to be there. Where's your reporting? You got 30 seconds. What is Jack Posobiec spending his time on? That's what people want to know.
Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's the keystone.
Yeah, since the show started, people in Pennsylvania and the local things have blown me up. There's tons of stuff going on in Pennsylvania. There's a dogfight up there.
Pennsylvania's ground zero, because if you get Arizona and Georgia, it all comes down to Pennsylvania.
Exactly. And maybe throw in Michigan for good work.
I like what Faddis said a couple days ago. Our liberty was born in Pennsylvania. We ain't going to let it die there.
Amen. Jack Posobiec, One American News. Thank you so much. We'll be back. We're going to have Steve Gruber, who is the one of the great hosts for Real America's Voice, and an expert in Michigan. Michigan's now in play. This is a fight, and you're seeing great people fight throughout this country. Jack Posobiec, thank you very much for co-hosting the first hour.
Thanks much.